Hey, this is Joe, Graybench Electronics. Welcome and welcome back. Last week we did a teardown of the Analogman King of Tone. If you haven't seen that yet, check for a link in the description. This week we're going to put the King of Tone head-to-head versus a clone build and see if you really need to sit on that waiting list for 5+ years or spend $800 on reverb, or if a clone build will do the trick. If that sounds interesting to you, stick around. All right, before we go into the sound test, which is coming up later in the video, I wanted to have a look at the insides of both pedals, talk about how they're similar, how they're different. So on the left here, we have, of course, the Analogman King of Tone, the original pedal. On the right is my clone. This is the AionFX Theseus board. I've used AionFX PCBs in the past. Always really good build documentation, good quality PCBs. If you're interested in checking out the Theseus, I will put a link to it in the description. Not a sponsored video, I enjoy their boards and their products, so yeah, go check out the AionFX Theseus. The two ways in which these pedals are similar, obviously, they have the exact same circuit design, same component values in the same configurations hooked up in the same places. There's one is a clone of the other. The King of Tone here I ordered with the high gain on the red side, which is probably the most popular configuration if you look on like reverb listings. The Theseus here has the option to add high gain to either side, and I've done so by engaging the high gain here on the middle of the left dip switch here. So as far as high gain, they're both set up with the standard configuration on the yellow side and high gain on the red side. Both pedals have the in and outs for each blues breaker. Both pedals have the added presence control, which are all four are turned all the way down. So just double checking here. They should all be turned all the way counterclockwise, which is the standard configuration, and you could turn it up to add more high-end or presence. As far as differences, choice of components is different. So the King of Tone here, the major difference, or what will seem to be the major difference, is the clipping diodes. The King of Tone, of course, uses the MA856 or MA858 clipping diodes, a bank of them there and a bank of them there. The clone here uses the most common substitute for the MA856 or MA858 now, which is the BAS33. I say most common, there are other options. The BA2A2 is a common option. MA859s, if you can get them, are somewhat similar. The BAS33, in fact, has gone end of life, so even those may start to get hard to find depending on where you're looking in the time frame or when you're watching this video. As of right now, they're still available, so like I said in the King of Tone teardown video, if you're interested in building one, you might want to go pick up some BAS33 now. As far as the other clipping diodes, King of Tone and my clone here both use 1N4148 clipping diodes. That's the bank right there. And these four diodes here. The BAS33 are these four right there. The King of Tone here uses carbon film resistors. That's the tan resistors. It also uses a couple of carbon comps. That's the darker brown ones here, there, as well as some metal films. I believe these are in the power supply for the King of Tone here. My build uses entirely metal film, so that's all the light blue resistors there. I don't have any carbon film or carbon comps. The King of Tone here uses the maroon Panasonic film caps. I can't remember the part number, but it's whatever the part number is, the maroon Panasonic caps. My build has a combination of a couple of red WEMA film caps as well as Kemet film caps. They're all film caps for both pedals, just a different style. These are box film. These are more like the epoxy molded film, but it's same values, just different manufacturer and different type. The King of Tone has Rubicon electrolytics. My build has a combination of Nichicon, Zycon, and Sprague electrolytics. The clone here also has two extra electrolytics. These are just in the power supply for a little more filtering. Shouldn't make a sonic difference. Speaking of other things that shouldn't make a sonic difference, the King of Tone here uses Vimex pots. My build has Alpha pots. The King of Tone has a battery snap option. My pedal does not. King of Tone here is in the 1590BB size enclosure. My build is in the 1590BBS. The exact 1/4" jacks are not exactly the same. There's different brands, but they're just 1/4" jacks. And my DC jack is just a standard Lumberg style DC jack, non-switching. The King of Tone uses the switching jack because they have a battery snap. Those last things should not make any sonic difference. All right, so that's a quick overview of the inside of the pedals. One thing I'm gonna do, someone brought it up in the King of Tone teardown video. I didn't measure the forward voltage drop on the King of Tone diodes, which they're totally right. I don't know why I didn't, I should have. So we're gonna do that now real quick, and you'll be able to see that forward voltage drop for those diodes and compare it to the voltage drop in the clone here. All right, we're going to test the forward voltage drop for the diodes in the King of Tone here. I've got my test leads set up with little extension leads because the diodes are mounted vertically and it's kind of hard to get to that lower test point. All right, so this is D1 on the board, which is this inside MA858. All right, not really able to get a good contact on that one. Let's try the next to it. This is going to be D3 on the board. All right, there's D3, about 0.76. Here is D4. 0.76, and D2, 0.2, or D2 is 0.764. Moving over here to this bank of MA856 or MA858. The cathode of the diode is what's mounted lower on the board, and so I'm just using these leads to try to reach in there and touch that solder pad. Oh, there you go, 0.76. A little lower on that one, 0.755, 0.76, and 0.76. So pretty consistent on the MA856 with one a little bit lower. It's not entirely clear if Analogman is sorting out MA856 or MA858s for the King-of-Tone build to be pretty close, or if they're just really consistent from Panasonic. All right, here are the 4148s. So we're expecting these to be lower, which this one is so far, 0.61. Yeah, 0.618, 0.619, and 0.62. Okay, so there are the forward voltage measurements for the King-of-Tone diodes. Let's have a look at the measurements for my clone. So starting with the BAS33, these are a lot easier to get to. 0.725 for one of the BAS33. Over here, 0.728, 0.731. I'm jumping around a little bit just so I don't have to move my leads, so I can keep the black hitting the cathode here. 0.725. All right, now we can switch. 0.726, 0.72, 0.729, 0.73. All right, so we can see there the BAS33 is testing about 0.03 volts lower forward voltage than the MA858 or 856. We will see in the listening test if that makes any sonic difference or if we can detect that as a difference that is being made and if it's coming out through sonically. And then just a quick test, these are the 4148s. This should be consistent with the King-of-Tone. 0.61, 0.617, 0.616, and 0.617. Okay, so those are the same as they should be. It's the same part. All right, so we looked at the components inside. We tested the forward voltage drops of the diodes for both pedals. Next and last thing to do is to hook them up to an amplifier with a mic and see how they sound. All right, we're set up to do a listening test here. I, of course, have the Analogman King-of-Tone on the right, on the left, and my clone on the right here. The pedal here, this is just an AB looper switcher pedal. So when I hit this button, it brings one pedal into circuit. The other pedal's completely out of circuit. Hit the button again, other pedal comes into circuit, previous pedal is out. I have a guitar loop I recorded here with the Diode looper pedal going into the input. The output's going straight to the amplifier, which is a modded basement style amp. The guitar is or was a humbucker with a Telecaster, or Telecaster with a humbucker. And the microphone is an SM57 pointed straight at the center of the cone. I have already set the volumes here to be at unity, so they're equivalent with each other. The tapers are a little bit different on my pot versus the Vimex pots that are in the King-of-Tone. So King-of-Tones want to be about here, and the clone here want to be just a little bit past. The gain knobs and tone knobs are all set to noon. So let's just hear what we can hear so far. We'll start on the yellow side. Here we go. The volume is a little bit higher on the clone here. The tone is a little bit higher also on the clone. To my ears with these settings, the pedals sound identical. I can't tell the difference here in the room. It'll be interesting to hear what the amp recording sounds like. Let's go ahead and switch to the red side. So this is the high gain side for both pedals. Let's hear that. Alright, so that was a listen of the drive sounds for the, or I should say, red side of the Analogman versus King of Tone. Again, they sound extremely similar to me. I don't think I'd be able to pick them out. Like if I hit this button a bunch of times, like I don't think I could tell you which is which. I'll say the same thing I do after all these tests, which is if you take the same components with the same values and you hook them up the same way, you're going to get two pedals that sound the same. All right, there you go. That is the Analogman King of Tone versus a clone build. Let me know in the comments if you think the clone did the trick or if you still need to go out and get that real deal King of Tone. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate you hitting the like button and subscribing. I'm Joe from graybenchelec. Thanks for watching.